Hello and welcome to today's video where we discuss about the very hot subject. Could China banking system collapse soon? But before we dive into that, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Let's go. Very well. China's economy has recently brought to light a more profound issue known as shadow banking, thereby exacerbating the existing concerns. Assistance in the sector is requested. The concept of shadow banking refers to a system of financial intermediation that operates outside the traditional banking sector. Shadow banking refers to a substantial financial sector that operates outside the traditional regulatory framework. In China, this sector is estimated to possess a value of at least $3 trillion, primarily originating from real estate activities. The country is currently grappling with a recurring financial crisis, as evidenced by frequent news reports highlighting its challenges. Consequently, the anticipated outcome materialized last week when Evergrande, a prominent entity within the shadow banking sector, experienced a significant collapse. This event carries substantial implications, particularly for individuals who have been closely monitoring this narrative. Evergrande was a prominent real estate developer in China, boasting an extensive portfolio of over 1,300 projects spanning across 280 cities. However, in recent times, the company has encountered certain challenges. In the year 2021, they experienced a setback in meeting their bond obligations. Disbursements made to their stakeholders in the year 2021, the company experienced a default on its debts, resulting in significant repercussions within the global financial system. The occurrence of defaults among other builders, who were either creditors of Evergrande or had contractual expectations from the company, was triggered. Since the year 2021, there has been an observed occurrence where approximately 40% of the companies, constituting around 40 entities affiliated with Charles, have been identified. The housing sector in China has experienced an unprecedented surge in defaults, leading to a substantial accumulation of debt. In fact, the indebtedness of Grant's dad's company has surpassed that of any other developer globally, reaching a staggering amount of $300 billion. Got so big and it was so connected, and other developers relied on them for resources and for loans. After Evergrande defaulted, it was a domino effect, and 40% of China's private real estate developers started to fail as well. Currently, as we understand it, Evergrande has about $300 billion in debt. It's lost about $80 billion in the last 2 years, and in fact has even been in a trading halt at shares since last year. $300 billion is a lot of money. To put that in perspective, that represents 2% of China's GDP. In other words, 2% of all the yearly income that China makes. So it's been a long time coming, and now Evergrande filed for Chapter 15 bankruptcy. Its property giants, so-called property giants, are now filing for bankruptcy protection. Chapter 15 bankruptcy is a way to protect non-US companies and their assets from their creditors. And because Evergrande is an international company that owes money all over the world, they want to make sure they don't get sued all over the world, especially in the US, which is extremely litigious. But why all of this is important is because the world has a $105 trillion economy. Of that, China ranks as the second largest country in terms of size, with a land area comprising nearly 20% of the world's total landmass. The significant financial value of $1 trillion, which closely trails that of the United States, has had a notable influence not only on the Chinese economy, but also on the economy of the United States. This impact is evident in various indicators such as the recent decline in stock prices and the performance of Bitcoin. Consequently, these developments have resulted in certain consequences. Moreover, it is worth noting that there is currently another prominent developer in China, known as Country Garden, which has garnered significant attention due to its larger scale compared to the aforementioned developer. The current situation with Evergrande and the missed payments by a prominent trust from John Rong International in the shadow banking sector, estimated to be around $3 trillion, is indicative of a potentially significant issue. This paper aims to provide an academic analysis of the ongoing shadow banking crisis in China, as well as the possibility of higher interest rates in the United States. Additionally, it will explore the potential downgrade of U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan, and the potential consequences that may arise as a result. The significance of this matter cannot be understated. It is often said that any fluctuations in China's economy can have a substantial impact on the United States. Many individuals experience the common cold, and it is worth noting that China's economy is currently facing challenges. China's gross domestic product, GDP, has experienced a notable deceleration, accompanied by a considerable rise in unemployment rates. Consequently, China has undertaken measures to conceal and discontinue the dissemination of its economic data. The cessation of youth unemployment data publication in Beijing shortly after reaching a historic peak in June raises concerns about the potential failure of the second-largest global economy to achieve its targeted 5% growth. The recent unexpected interest rate reduction by the Chinese central bank has prompted concerns about the state of the housing market, which poses a significant challenge for a nation heavily reliant on real estate as a key economic driver. In this context, it is pertinent to assess the relative scale and significance of Country Garden in comparison to a larger entity. Worse, more worrisome, less, what is 4 times as large as Evergreen. As a matter of fact, Country Garden, until I think probably the last week, was the #1 largest private real estate developer in China. Now it's number 5, and China's now experiencing deflation, which is when prices are going down. But not in a good kind of way, because consumers have stopped spending money. Consumers aren't really spending in China, and they're not spending abroad either. And now Evergrande is in bankruptcy protection, and they're trying to restructure their debt via something called Chapter 15 bankruptcy, which is pretty complicated, but here's exactly what it means. This is something we're going to hear about a lot. So imagine I was Evergrande, an irresponsible child who owned a lot of these Moogle toys, which represents all the people that I owe money to now. Imagine that I had so many of these toys laying around the house that I eventually asked my friends to hold on to these toys for me. And then one day my parents, which represent the courts, get mad at me, and they decide that I've been neglecting my toys too long. So they're gonna give them all away. So to decide who's owed a Moogle, aka who's owed the money they're put in, the concept of charge holds significant importance in the context being discussed. When distributing toys, it is expected that numerous children from various neighborhoods would express their desire to obtain them. This parallel can be drawn to the situation involving Evergrande, wherein individuals such as shareholders, bondholders, employees, and property owners are seeking their respective interests. The reference to different neighborhoods is metaphorically replaced by the Chapter 15 part, specifically pertaining to the Moogle. To simplify this explanation further, it can be likened to a scenario explained as if addressing a 5-year-old child. Moving on to the subsequent development in China's unfavorable news. It involves a considerably larger property developer. The owner of this developer, Yang Huayan, was previously recognized as the wealthiest woman in Asia. However, she has experienced a significant decline in her wealth since then. In just over a span of 2 years, the Chinese property developer Country Garden has incurred a substantial debt, resulting in a loss of approximately $28.6 billion. This places the company alongside other billionaires worldwide who have experienced similar financial setbacks. The current situation involves a crisis faced by China's formerly leading construction company in terms of sales. The company is now at a high risk of defaulting. In contrast to Evergrande, which had been under public scrutiny since 2021, the emergence of Country Garden's predicament has caught people off guard. Due to its significant financial resources and reputation as a leading real estate developer in China, Country Garden was expected to excel in the industry. The company had pledged to deliver a substantial number of properties, amounting to 700,000 units. However, it has encountered difficulties in fulfilling this commitment, managing to complete only approximately half of the projected number. Additionally, Country Garden has faced challenges in meeting its financial obligations, as evidenced by its failure to make 2 bond payments to its shareholders. Consequently, the company's stock value has experienced a significant decline, plummeting by nearly 40% in the past 30 days and over 72% since the beginning of the year. Presently, the stock is valued at a mere 10 cents. It is worth noting that Country Garden's financial liabilities are approximately 4 times its current market value. There is currently a greater number of projects in development compared to Evergrande. Although the question may be perceived as self-centered, it is a topic of concern for many individuals. The impact of this collapse on the United States is a matter of speculation. It is likely that U.S. companies that have invested in Country Garden's bonds will be directly affected by this situation. Interest payments are a notable aspect of financial transactions. It is worth mentioning that several prominent companies in the United States, such as BlackRock, Fidelity International, UBS, JP Morgan, and others, have successfully engaged in this practice. Several other companies are also at risk, which is concerning as these are well known and likely utilized by many individuals. However, the positive aspect is that the mentioned figures amount to a few $100 million. Although this may seem substantial, it is relatively small compared to the company's balance sheets and assets under management, which are in the trillions. Therefore, even in the worst-case scenario where Country Garden's bonds become worthless, the impact would be relatively minimal. The potential impact on all those companies is expected to be negligible in theory. However, it is important to note that the repercussions of events in China tend to transcend national borders, making the outcome uncertain. Regrettably, the Chinese middle class is already experiencing the initial effects, which are also beginning to influence the shadow banking sector. It is crucial to assess whether we possess adequate measures in place to address the expanding problems in China. Beyond the realm of traditional property, the shadow banking system comes into consideration. It is crucial to understand the implications of this system on the overall economy. To clarify, the term shadow banking may evoke a sense of secrecy and malevolence. But it is important to note that this perception is not entirely accurate. As it stands, I possess an unofficial elucidation regarding the modus operandi of shadow banking. Should you choose to remit 2 units of Bitcoin to my account, I shall reciprocate by returning 1 unit to you in a timely manner. Now, let us consider the authoritative definition of shadow banking. Shadow banking refers to the involvement of financial intermediaries in the process of credit creation, while operating outside the purview of regulatory oversight. For instance, let us consider a hypothetical scenario where you revisit a Toys R Us store. In the context of purchasing a toy, it is customary to encounter specific regulations and anticipated norms. For instance, it is highly probable that a receipt will be provided upon purchase, and a return policy will likely be in place. Moreover, it is important to note that the price displayed, such as 4.9, is generally non-negotiable, and it would be unreasonable to propose a significantly lower offer, such as $350, for the item in question. Haggling and the proprietor of Toys R Us are responsible for enforcing these regulations. These regulations encompass fundamental principles and pertain to the regulated banking sector. However, the shadow banking industry operates differently. To illustrate, envision a playground teeming with children, referred to as play club. In this hypothetical scenario, the children engage in a theoretical exchange of toys, without the presence of predetermined prices. Instead, they establish prices amongst themselves, and may even lend their toys to one another in exchange for alternative items. Notably, this system lacks the use of receipts and operates without explicit rules. The sole regulation is to refrain from discussing the play club. The shadow banking industry, akin to dark matter in outer space, operates outside of regulatory oversight and lacks official data. Despite this, it is estimated that the industry's value exceeds $50 trillion, as of a 2019 report. This estimation, made prior to the recent inflation and extensive money printing, suggests that at least half of the global economy is involved in shadow banking. It is reasonable to assume that banks worldwide, including those engaged in high-stakes derivatives trading, participate in this industry. However, delving into the intricacies of the derivatives market is beyond the scope of this discussion. The key takeaway is that shadow banking plays a significant role in the global financial landscape. How China's shadow banking sector is. The estimated value of this entity exceeds $3 trillion. Certain estimates indicate a significantly higher value, and the industry in question exhibits a substantial reliance on real estate. However, the loans associated with said real estate are approaching their maturity dates. yet remain unpaid due to the defaulting status of the developers. Consequently, these recent developments have given rise to a couple of noteworthy occurrences within the United States. Firstly, they partially account for the 2% decline observed in the stock market last week. Secondly, they contribute to the decrease in the value of Bitcoin, which has reached approximately $26,000. Investors are currently experiencing apprehension regarding the economic challenges faced by China and its potential implications on global markets. Additionally, there exists another factor contributing to the decline in market conditions, namely the perceived influence of the Illuminati, also known as the Federal Reserve. This notion is supported by the disclosure of minutes from the Federal Reserve's most recent meetings. Recent discussions indicate that the majority of participants in the meeting expressed a notable potential for inflation to increase, which may necessitate additional measures to restrict economic activity. Specifically, such measures would likely involve an increase in interest rates, potentially taking effect in September. However, it is important to note that the market, commonly referred to as the financial sector, has not yet fully reacted to this information. The CME Fed Watch tool predicts that there is a likelihood probability of rates remaining unchanged is close to 90%. It is important to note that the reference here is to Fitch, the credit rating agency, and not Abercrombie & Fitch, the retail clothing brand. The credit ratings agency, known for its previous downgrade of the U.S. economy, has recently indicated the possibility of another downgrade for the banking industry, thereby suggesting the potential for further negative assessments. Fitch has issued a cautionary statement regarding the potential necessity of downgrading the credit ratings of numerous banks, including prominent institutions such as J.P. Morgan. As of August 2023, no downgrades have occurred, although the possibility remains. The current credit ratings are as follows, and it is important to bear in mind these assessments. This inquiry pertains to the level of safety that a bank may possess. The financial institution being referred to is Bank of America. The financial institution known as Bank of New York Mellon. The companies that received the highest ratings are Morgan Stanley, followed closely by Wells Fargo. Banks that are denoted in bold font are considered systematically important, commonly referred to as too big to fail. While there is currently no cause for immediate concern, it is crucial to remain attentive. You should safeguard your finances by visiting the bank and segregating your accounts to ensure that none of them exceed the insurance limit of $250,000. This precautionary step is intended to mitigate potential risks associated with a significant contagion within the shadow banking sector, which may surpass initial estimations. It is anticipated that the market will experience an upward trend when the Federal Reserve initiates a decrease in interest rates, which is expected to occur in the upcoming year. However, there is a possibility that the market could be negatively influenced by China. Although this outcome is unlikely, it would be valuable to hear your insights on this matter, with a focus on your personal investment journey. Thank you, and I hope you have a pleasant remainder of your day. Please consider expressing your appreciation by liking this message. If you have not already done so, please consider subscribing. I would like to express my gratitude to all the patrons who have shown their support and appreciation for this video. Your continued viewership is greatly valued. Bye, farewell, take care and have a nice day.